Hello everyone, this is Roxas1359. Welcome to our next game of the Summer of Bits, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Created and developed by Sonic Team and published in 1992 for the SEGA Genesis. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the sequel to the popular hit game Sonic the Hedgehog and would later go on to become the best-selling Sonic game on the SEGA Genesis, actually. So, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, what's my history with this game? This is the game that started it all, ladies and gentlemen. This was my first ever video game that I ever played, and I'm not the only one. This was many people's first ever video game that they played. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was pretty dang popular, to say the least, and as a child, I could never beat it. Because, you know, child impatient. Although I did get pretty far in the game, I will admit, as opposed to other games that I played when I was a child. But this game always will hold a special place in my heart. Unfortunately, we're not playing the original first cartridge I ever owned because that actually ended up dying a little bit earlier this year, which made me really sad because I really wanted to play that version. But how will we be handling this game? This will be just like how Sonic 1 was, a no Chaos Emerald run, only in this case, I'm going to purposely ignore the Chaos Emerald. See, it's different how you get them inside Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as opposed to Sonic the Hedgehog 1. In Sonic 1, you had to finish a stage with 50 rings, and then there would be a special stage ring that would appear at the end that you had to jump into. For Sonic 2, it's different. Once you get 50 rings, go past a star post, which is the checkpoints in this game, and you'll be able to get into a special stage, which this game is the first one where they introduced the iconic half pipe that they keep using. I really wish they'd go back to the ones that was available inside Sonic 3, but I'll talk more about the blue spheres when I do Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But the other downside about getting into a special stage is the moment you come out, you lose all your rings. Well, I want to keep all my rings as best as I can, and already we're at our first boss. I know, that's pretty quick. Another change, obviously, is that there aren't 3 acts. There are just 2 acts with 1 boss, except for a couple of zones at the end of the game. And got hit by the first boss. I am pathetic. Die. Come at me, Robotnik. Your car may be cool, and your music may be catchy, but you end up being lost just like the rest. And there we go. That finishes up Emerald Hill Zone. So, there we go with that, but I'm not going to be ending off the episode just yet, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, we're going to be going for quite a little while, actually, to Chemical Plant Zone. Alright, my childhood is really back now because just like many children, I always thought that I was one of the only ones. I always had a hard time with Chemical Plant Zone as a kid. What do I mean by that? This zone kind of tests your patience in the second act, and that was kind of bad for me because, you know, young Roxas was not the most patient person ever, just like most children weren't, and it resulted in me dying a lot. But, as opposed to back then, nowadays, I know this like the inside out. The beginning of Sonic 2 is always ingrained in my brain from the amount of times I played them when I was a child, and that's why this game I always hold it a special place in my heart. Anyway, now we can go over a few of the other changes that Sonic 2 ended up adding in. Obviously, when you end up getting to the end of the stage, you might have noticed that I've been getting continues. The moment you get 10,000 points at the end of a stage, you get a continue, which is very helpful. It always helps out. 100 rings still gets you a life, and your continues stack. I think by the end of this one, we're going to have probably, I don't know, 6, 7 continues total. I know that we're going to be having a lot of continues by the end of this little run through, that's for certain. Anyway, one other change to go back into the special stage talk is that there is actually a change in the Chaos Emeralds. In fact, there are now 7 emeralds. Getting all of them will unlock the mighty Supersonic. Supersonic is part of the reason why I'm not doing a all emerald run. There are 2 specific reasons why. The first, Special Stage 4 is rather infamous inside of Sonic 2 for not being friendly. Oh no, it's not. And unlike Sonic 1, where if you messed up on a special stage, you had to go to the next one in sequence before you could get the one you missed, you would keep on doing that special stage over and over again until you got the Chaos Emerald, which is a good thing and then a bad thing if you're stuck on special stage 4 like I sometimes get. The second reason will be explained in a much later video. In fact, I believe the last video inside the project, it will explain it, because that will be inside the zone in which it is applicable. Great. Purple liquid. Purple liquid that can make me drown. But luckily, we almost have enough rings so we can get to the end. We're just about at the end, but I am going to screw up a little bit on this, I will admit. Anyway, it's really great playing Sonic 2 again. This has always been a game that I go back to, but surprisingly enough, before the Summer of Bits, this was also before, despite me owning the Genesis version for so long, which at this point, I believe I've owned my Genesis 2 model that my cousin gave me back when I was 5, because it turns out apparently I played video games when I was 5 and not 10 like I had previously thought. I believe that would mean I've owned it for 17 years. Well, not 17, 16 years. I'm not 22 just yet. But that's still a pretty long time. And the cartridge I have lasted that long until this year. It lasted longer. So pretty much I ended up just replacing the cartridge, which really bummed me out. Although one thing I do like about the cartridge that I'm playing this on is that instead of saying Genesis, it actually says Mega Drive on it, which I think is pretty cool. Although, there is one thing I have noticed odd about this cartridge, and we'll be seeing that actually in the next zone in particular, and it's something that I never had on my original one. I also didn't have it happen in my first run of this game that I initially scrapped. But, time to fight Robotnik again, and by fight, I mean completely wreck him. Yeah. As a child, I used to actually let him get an attack off. Then I learned. So, that takes care of Chemical Plant Zone, which means we're now going to move on to our third zone. 3 zones in one video? Oh, I'm just spoiling everything now, aren't I? Well, also, it's because the zones are significantly shorter and there's a lot more emphasis on speed. But welcome to Aquatic Ruin Zone, actually one of my more favorite levels in terms of aesthetics. I love the music, especially for Aquatic Ruin Zone. It's always been a personal favorite of mine. And it looks like we got upgraded Grounderbots. Thank you, mysterious fox kid who keeps following me around. That is Tails, Sonic's sidekick that was added in for this game. Fun little thing you can do in the original Genesis version. This was something that my cousin and I used to do when I was a kid, as well as my sister and I. I used to be, whenever we would play the games, I used to be Tails all the time because, you know, younger sibling, older siblings got to play as Sonic. That's how it always is. We younger siblings, we always had to play as Tails. But either way, this is another stage where you can end up drowning. In fact, this is the last stage in the game in which you can worry about drowning. But let us grab more rings as Tails is just flying around. Unfortunately, this isn't Sonic the Hedgehog 2 iOS, where Tails' ability to fly is actually incorporated into the game like how it was in Sonic 3. Tails is still invulnerable, so he can take hits for you and still grab rings. Either way, that clears the first act, so let's move on to the second act. As you can see, I am much more comfortable with Sonic 2 than Sonic the Hedgehog 1. As I've mentioned before, I've played and beaten Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I can count it all on one hand. I don't go to Sonic 1 too often. If I'm going to a classic Sonic game, it's either 2 or 3 and Knuckles. That is always the case. Generally, 3 and Knuckles has been my latest sort of thing. I don't come to Sonic 2 as much anymore, although I really should, especially because I'm going to need to do a Knuckles run eventually. Yes, I am going to eventually do a Chaos Emerald run with this, and when I do the Chaos Emerald run, it's probably when I'm going to also do the Knuckles run. I'll probably get the Chaos Emeralds with Knuckles, and then show off the 100% ending that you can get with this game. Because there is a special ending that you get if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, and that is technically the canon ending, as Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or just Sonic 3 I should say, continues off where the second game ends, and it assumes that Sonic got all the Chaos Emeralds. So I'm gonna have to do that before I get to go to Sonic 3. But that takes care of that stage, so let's fight Robotnik again with his giant mallet. No, I thought that you couldn't really get any worse than Giant Wrecking Ball. I was wrong. I mean, this isn't as simple as his plan to simply crush us like it was in Scrap Brain Zone, no. Okay, looky here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this mallet on these totem poles. And they're going to shoot arrows at Sonic. They're never going to hit him. They're going to hit his little two-tailed fox sidekick. But there we go. That takes care of Aquatic Ruin Zone. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to end it off right here. This is Roxas1359. Next time, we're going to go gambling in Casino Night Zone.